What's going on, world? Welcome to another week, the Web Buzz Podcast. I'm Sean Tiberio, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Roger Valdez, the guy that keeps me on my toes all day, every day, because I get asked so many freaking questions about Google and the rankings and the algorithm and all this stuff. And I have to stand there and say, that's all Roger's space. I literally was on a call earlier today and I had to throw that out. Like, that's where I need Roger. What's up, buddy? What's going on?
What's going on, man? Always exciting. Always excited for this podcast. So, no, absolutely, man. I got your back. You know that. I got your back. Don't worry about that. You have my back too. So there's a lot of things that we do that you bring pretty much the fire. So it's a good combo. So every time we get on sales calls, we kind of work with clients. It's always really fun. So, but today, once again, another great one. I think we're going to chime into some of this power that you can kind of flex a little bit that's out there that maybe you don't know that's out there, but there's some things to watch out for. But other than that, man, super excited.
Speaking of fire, I don't know, that new opening, one of our actually, how crazy is this? It just dawned on me. Something we're about to talk about today is who actually, that role, right? That type of team member is who just created that new podcast intro for us.
I just told you too, is like we continue to keep getting like better and better our branding. And who is it? You know, our boy, right?
Yeah.
He just continues to get better. And exactly.
Used. We're going to be talking about that today, folks. The pros and the cons of freelance usage, how to use them, why to use them, what to look out for. And it's going to be I think it's going to be a really, really cool episode because there's a lot of people right now that this is kind of what they're toying with. The term VA or freelancer, right? Freelance may not be getting thrown around as much as, well, I want to hire a VA. Well, in a sense, a virtual assistant, freelancer, these type of things are all in that same category. So if you're the business owner that's been thinking about it, you're trying to figure out how do I advance my digital presence and not need to be the one knowing all of the stuff and doing all of the things or taking all the actions. We're going to get into some things to think about today, why you should think about it, the pros and cons of doing it, how to go about doing it the right way. And then I think we might even get into a piece where we talk a little bit about how TRC has been able to adapt and bring some of that stuff in. And actually one of our viewers threw it in that it is fire. It is fire. I agree. And we got to throw a big special thank you and a shout out to our team member out there who made it happen. So before we dive into anything today, how's your day going so far, Roger? I saw you taking a sip of the coffee cup. So I know
still getting started. Getting started. I'm gonna do a plug-in here for, I'm not even gonna say the brand, but funny enough, out here where I'm at in Guam, we do not have this brand. I'm not going to say it. I don't know if I get in trouble if I say it. We have a local brand, but this is, I have to, we got some family members ship it in or send it to us in packages and love making it, man. So this is getting my morning started. Excellent.
Quick disclaimer. We are not, I'm going to emphasize that, not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by that company. Don't want anybody thinking you're trying to plug it. So anyway, kicking off the morning strong, got yourself a favorite cup of Joe. We were all, actually, Roger and I were just joking about it, folks. Next week's going to be an interesting week when we do the Web Buzz podcast, because it's going to be the first time that he and I are in the exact same spot. So I know I want you to tune in today, but for sure, tune in next week, because you never know what's going to happen. We're both in the same area. Maybe we just even go somewhere completely different and do it from some random location. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, that sounds like a idea, man. Yeah, something a little different. Well, we'll figure it out. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm super stoked to be jumping on a plane, heading over there, and not that it's bad here, but it's good sometimes to get off the island, right? I've been here
island fever
for a while, so no, not really. I tend to, you know me, I'm an outdoorsy person, so I'm all over the place. It's just good to kind of head back for a little bit, hang out with some of our clients. We have some event going on. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. So if you guys are joining live today, if you're out there watching, do us a favor, throw us a little comment down in the comment box. Let us know that you're here. Let us know what you're thinking. We'd love to see who's on. But with that being said, let's go ahead and shift in to today's topic. We're talking about the pros and the cons of using freelancers in your business, virtual assistants in your business, but more importantly, using them in an area that's going to make an impact on your digital marketing efforts. As you guys saw, as this this Web Buzz podcast went up and went live and started, that fun little video, that is not something that I sat down and created. It is not something that Roger sat down and created. It was simply, we have a freelance individual who does some video work, does some video editing for us for some elements of digital marketing, and put him to the task of creating this cool little hype intro piece. And that's what we're talking about today. How do you find individuals like that who can work really well into it? And more importantly, why you want to get into it. So I'm going to kick it over to you here for a second, Roger, to kind of get us started and kind of set the tone for all of this before we get into some of the nitty gritty.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a pretty loaded conversation, right? So we're going to kind of try to take you through a journey and see if we can answer, we're going to be kind of discussing and trying to kind of bring up some topics that, our clients, TRC has dealt with, and just stuff that we've found just by doing our research. So first of all, I want to kind of like talk a little bit about not necessarily the history, but what it looked like. Maybe let's just talk about what it looked like in 2018, 19, right? Before we got into 2020, the big 2020 that just changed the world, right? So before, we were forced to actually do stuff online and really kind of see what's going on in 2018, 2019, and before, right? The concept of VAs, it was still very popular. A lot of people were doing it. But the only thing was that there's a little bit of a skepticism, right? Should I be doing it? Is it a right fit? I don't feel comfortable maybe, a contract, getting a VA, because in most cases, when you're actually getting a VA, you're getting a VA from overseas, right? So that's always the language barrier, kind of like the actual, I guess kind of the cons, right? Or the challenges is like the time difference. So there's a lot of things that had to be factored in. But then there was always, it's like, all right, well, let's look a little bit about the pros. It's like, so some of the pros, a lot of people didn't really highlight. They weren't highlighted back then. That's why a lot of people were kind of like passing them over. So that's been kind of a little bit of a pain point, I guess. Always trying to build your team, trying to make it in an affordable manner, trying to find the right knowledge, but always having that skepticism of hiring a VA from overseas.
Why do you think there's that skepticism? Why? You've been dealing with freelancers, VAs. I think it's been more common in the industry of web development and some of the, especially around the SEO side, more so than maybe from my side of the equation, building the business, and it's more a relationship piece on this side of the coin. But why do you think there's that skepticism? Before we even talk about the pros,
Sure.
Why is that con in there?
Yeah, I think the skepticism is going to be, I think, I guess I can categorize them into three main kind of topics. One's going to be language barrier, right? Can I communicate with this person? Can I actually convey my ideas and have that person kind of go ahead and do what I need them to do, right? Or the other one around that is, if I hire somebody to make cold calls or sales calls or just kind of communicate with my clients, right? Are they going to represent my company, right? Or my brand in the correct manner? So I think the language barrier is always a thing of concern, right? But obviously, I'm not going to go into the pros yet. So, but that's one of the things that sometimes people kind of look at. The other thing is the knowledge, right? The knowledge and the skill set. Even though you look at these websites and you hire a VA and they say they can do certain things, can they really do it? You don't have an official paper or document, degree or certification in front of you. You're kind of going off of a phone call, kind of like what we're doing here, right? Maybe you do some kind of communication through Zoom or Skype, and then you do an interview, and then you really kind of start that process. So that's another one is the VA going to have the actual skill set that they say they do, right? And then the other one is time zones. Can I work? Can we communicate, right? The communication. Can we actually communicate during my time zone, or can we coordinate somewhere in the middle? Is it even going to work for me, right? So those have always been the challenges that have always kind of like put a little bit of a dark cloud over the VA spot. So I'll kind of stop there. So hopefully you can kind
No,
of chime in on that.
I totally agree. As you were saying that, I was sitting here thinking, I'm going back a handful of years, 2011, 2012, trying to figure out how was I going to take that business at the time and get it away from being just me, right? Trying to do all the different pieces, especially on the marketing side. And I guess maybe another piece that I would throw in there is why there's some of this skepticism or holdback. For me, it was I didn't know if I could manage somebody that wasn't physically like right in front of me all the time. I, as a Marine, as somebody that I managed a number of men or and women at times over my career, but they were always right there. You had full control. They kind of reported to you. They were in the same building or maybe even in the same room as you, or you were bumping into. I needed a question answer. I could walk right into Roger's office if he was right here. So I think that was another big piece was, can I actually, me as the manager, the owner, the controller, can I actually do it? And I think that's a big hurdle that some individuals need to get over and realize that it is a con. I would definitely admit it. Up until 2020, when you and I kind of brought this whole thing together, and we'll talk a little bit about how we made that work with TRC. I'll be honest, at the beginning of it, it was an uncomfortable situation for me because that is not how I'm used to kind of running, and managing and doing a business. My last big business before kind of separating a couple different things, we had, 1,500 square foot office, multiple different offices, people coming in and out all day long. I was really used to just having the person right there to now shifting to pretty much a complete dispersed team, whether that's permanent, members or even our, freelance VA type staff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because the management portion is huge too. I know I didn't have it here on my list for the top three kind of categories, but it does kind of have to fall. I have to kind of look at where it actually falls, what category, because that is true. Not everybody that starts a side business or is looking for a VA, right? That maybe they're a one man hustle, one woman hustle, right? They're out there kind of selling a product or a service, and they need one VA. And maybe they've never managed anybody. And I can tell you from experience, like Sean and I kind of we haven't always done this, right? We got a big background on management and all that stuff. So it's not always managing skills, it's managing personalities. And it's hard enough to manage personalities when you're in a building, right? It's like manage a team that you can see and you can have meetings with. Now think about managing multiple VAs and managing personalities, not just their skills. On top of that, when you do overseas kind of like VAs, it's also cultures, right? So not only are you dealing with kind of like the in-house, in that building, now you're dealing with cultures, holidays, very special holidays that don't align with yours, right? So you got to be careful how you schedule. So the management portion, I think, Sean, is way up there. I think it should be something that should be talked about more.
So you basically just said it is okay as a business owner to have multiple personality disorder. Is that what I heard?
No.
Because if I got to manage multiple personalities, that means I'm changing personalities every time I'm doing.
I guess I am saying that because you have to. I mean, you have to change kind of how you deal with certain things. You got to get to know your team. I mean, that was one of the skills that I hopefully I got pretty good at. I guess working through corporate and getting trained and learning how to do that. And when I had to manage a virtual team, it was a whole different playing ground. But at the same time, I was able to kind of utilize some of those skills that I've learned and kind of make it work, right? So a lot of those do translate into the virtual world. But yeah, I mean, overall, the management portion, I think it is. And to your point, yes, you do have to change your how you talk to people depending on which team member you're talking to, even if it's a VA.
So see, all of us out there that have multiple personalities, we're good. We're good. We can just blame it on business. So let's shift here and talk briefly some of the pros, because I do want to get into some actionable, tangible things that people can, go and do. But I think we got to hit on the pro side of it first, so that you really understand why it's worth putting in the work, because it's not going to be an easy task. Pretty much never. I don't think it's ever really easy to land the right one. There are things that can help speed that piece up. So what are some of those pros that you've seen in your experience working with virtual assistant, kind of, this freelance VA individual?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the main ones that pretty much, when I got put into a corner in my business where I needed to start hiring VAs and really start looking into that option, like everybody else, super scary, right? Not sure where to even start. But one of the things that was right away kind of a positive for me, that I was able to go and start doing my research. Obviously, there's different platforms. We'll talk about the platforms later, but there's different platforms where you can go, and they have freelancers, right? They have all these people with their profiles and resumes and things like that that you can go and check out. So it was really cool to go ahead and go to these platforms, look at people and people that fit my avatar or my ideal VA, right, with the skill set, and then even be able to look at the price that they're charging, right? How much can I even afford this person? And then the skill level, you start learning is like, all right, do you need a beginner? Do you need a intermediate or expert, right? And then you start looking at the different price points. And to be honest, depending on where you're looking, around the world, there's different prices, right? There's different kind of like what it's going to cost you for a VA. So it's worth kind of digging into it. But I think a big positive for me was that I was able to go ahead and look for the skill set and then match it up with what my company at the time could afford, right? And then from there, you kind of decide, all right, if I can only afford an intermediate, right? Not an expert, but I can someone in the middle, someone that has mid-level. All right, I know I need to bring something to the table, which means some training. That comes back to management, right? Am I going to be able to manage that training? Do I have that in place? If I don't, before I hire anybody, I better go and create that. So one of the things was skills. You can go ahead and look at skills, and you can match them up with your pricing. The other thing is the time. Like, you can actually negotiate with them on when they're available. A lot of these VAs are willing to work around your time zone. So that was something that I found really cool as well. That just because I was going to hire someone from the Philippines, for example, I was in San Diego, California, doesn't mean I had to work in their time zone. So a lot of these VAs are willing to adjust. You just have to ask, work with them, and that was a huge positive as well. And then the final thing, I guess, that was a big positive is you can grow, right? You can grow very fast. I think that was the big part. So when you have someone in house, sometimes it gets a little expensive because you have overhead, right? You have a building, you have all this equipment, and sometimes it can get too expensive because you can't afford them because you have all these other expenses. So when you do start hiring VAs and you start building your business around that, you'll start noticing very quickly that your overhead is your VA cost, right? So they usually have their own equipment, they have their own building, because they're not in your place of business. So those are the things that I saw as positives, Sean, that came out really, really fast, that were highlighted really fast for me when I first started hiring VAs.
I think the final one that you hit is like the golden goose right there. The cost of having one, right, and using one and bringing them on, versus the cost of having that person internal, or more of an employee working directly out of like your office or something like that. That's where my pro con kind of decision point was really around whenever we started to, and before TRC and everything that we did here, when we started to finally leverage more of the virtual style worker, that was the big piece. Yes, it's easy to manage when they're right there, right? It's easier to control output, final product, these type of things. But the con to that is the cost of it. The other side, the pro, that cheaper barrier to entry in a sense, because to your point exactly, if I'm hiring, like for that video that we just did, we didn't have to buy him a computer or buy some special software, invest in that, for the business. It was, he had that type of setup already. He has the necessary equipment needed to produce to that quality. Why? Because he's not doing it just for us. He's doing it. That is his thing, right? That's his expertise. And he's already got his hands on that stuff and is using it. So the price point drops, the barrier to entry becomes easier. However, it puts a little more ownership, I guess I'll call it, back to you, because you've got to kind of own that process. And I love what you just said, understanding, do I have a training platform or a way of just explaining, I guess, like explaining what the vision is for this role or for the tasks that I want you to perform? Do you have that mapped out? Or if not, do you have, is that something you should probably sit down and do to make life a little easier, because you are going to own a little bit more of that responsibility? Some really good points there. Matter of fact, if I had
Yeah,
the gold bar
absolutely.
queued up, I would have dropped it on you there.
Some gold bars. That's awesome. No, yeah, man, it's a little bit of a challenge. Obviously, there's always going to be that dark cloud over the VA kind of option. But at the end of the day, if it's done right, I can honestly put myself on blast here and say I failed multiple times trying to hire VAs because I did not have a process for training. That's what it came down to. I did not have a process. It had nothing to do with their skill or their commitment to do it. It's just, I would say, hey, and most of it was just, as around website development, right? Website development. And I would say, hey, you're an expert in this platform. I want you to build this. And I give them some direction, right? Give them some direction about the project and go. But there was more. there was a lot more for onboarding. There's a lot more to learn about my specific task and processes in place. It's not just, WordPress, build me a website, right? It's not that. There's a lot more. So you have to dig into your processes, make sure that you understand it, and even have what worked for me. I had a diagram, right, of the actual process. I can visually see every step. So when I took my VAs through the process, when I was onboarding them and teaching them, they can literally I can see where the bottlenecks were or the misunderstandings, right? It's like, wait a minute, we keep getting stuck right here. We were able to identify it on that diagram. So something for you guys to think about if you are going the VA route is create some kind of training, some kind of visual aids that you can really kind of utilize to identify. You are going to run into issues, right? On misunderstandings, things like that. So you have to have something to identify them, those bottlenecks, and then have a way to find a solution for that.
And I think I would say, I mean, that is like number one, right? Right out of the gate, number one is, what are you looking for that person for? What is the role? What is the task? But then more importantly, being able to clearly define that. And I think too many business owners, I know I hear this on calls a lot with individuals. Too many business owners think that because they're hiring that virtual freelance individual for they went to whatever, Fiverr, Upwork, all the different platforms we'll talk about here in a minute. And I'm hiring somebody, let's say, to write blog articles for me because they've got a job description out there that says they're a blog writer, that they immediately don't have to train them ever, that they should just, start in their business today and be the best employee in a sense. And there is a very similar correlation between hiring somebody physically in and needing to put them through, somebody walks in, sits down, does a job interview, fills out an application, you give them the job, they start tomorrow. There's some training. There's some things that they need to understand how you and your business function to be able to operate in their role. VA, freelancer, same exact thing on it. So before we get into some of the key things to look for, what would you say, Roger, right out of the gate, are some very easy areas of a digital marketing space for a business that a freelance kind of virtual assistant type individual would fit well into to help them advance? Think of, some of the areas that we've even talked about on this show. Where could they plug somebody in that would help them advance that business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big one's going to be just you don't need an actual full on developer. And we're talking digital marketing. I'm going to go website on this one, right? Because I know Sean and I talk a lot about you have to have consistency with your online presence, right? And most people just don't have the time. Not that they don't want to, they just don't have the time. So when you start thinking of a VA that might be able to help on that, it doesn't have to be someone that is an expert at building websites, but it does have to be someone that's familiar with the platform that your website's built on, right? So that way they can help you add little things, even as something as minor as changing the content on the website periodically, right? Or adding a blog post, adding a picture, doing a little bit of SEO optimization to the actual website itself, so that way you're targeting very specific keywords, right? So those are very simple things that you can actually plug in a VA that's not going to be very expensive, but will help you move through that process. And that's assuming that you're doing it on your own. There are some companies that it's included in their packages, right? It's like in the support, a lot like TRC. I'm gonna get
Trying to get the button on that one. Hence why we
didn't want to really put, because I know we have people that listen to us that aren't working with it, and that's 100% fine. That's why we're out here trying to provide some value to everybody. But if you're not working with a company that actually provides that, as part of the package, then a VA would be perfect, right? You get a VA and they do these edits, and that has some consistency within your online presence. Not going to be huge. So that's one place. Has someone in place that can do edits to the website and keep it consistent, keep it changing, right? The other thing is something around social media, right? So not that you're going to do anything major. Once again, I'm trying to keep it around affordable, someone that's mid-range, beginner to mid-range. So when I talk social media, let's not get crazy on this, not a big strategy that's going to drive a ton of attention. I'm more talking about consistency. So if you post a blog post, that VA can also post it to your social media platforms, right? Get some action, get something happening over there. And that way you can have some consistency. And as you start getting more time or more in your marketing budget, then you can get an expert that's an expert on these things, and then start upping your game on what you're posting, the strategy behind it, things like that. But those are the two areas that I think, Sean, would be perfect for a VA that are kind of like sometimes left out. But yeah, anyway.
I'd love the way you just ended that are left out, because I think the common spaces where people see on the digital marketing side, and this is where, again, I guess this is more the muscle side of the business I get to flex. We hear this a lot, especially from our clients. I don't want to do video. Why? Well, I don't know how to edit it. I don't know how to make it look good. Outside of the typical excuse, I just don't want to be on camera or whatever. But the ones that do want to be on camera, why do they shy away from it? I don't have the software to edit it. I don't know how to edit it. I don't know how to go through those kind of things. That is another phenomenal, easy to find virtual individual, freelance individual who can do your video editing for you, so that you can, to what Roger and I teach and talk about all the time, tap into that space of video. Another one would be even a show like this. There's a number of individuals we know that would love to put a show like this together for their own business, but they immediately freeze because, well, I don't know how to produce it. I don't know how to get all the pieces like you guys have in place. I don't know how to make my screen look so nice like you do over here. I don't know how to create some of these imagery and graphics and these type of things, especially even on the blog side. We hear that, I'm not writing any blogs because I just don't know what pictures to put towards it. And yeah, there's a lot of great platforms out there that, do it yourself, canva.com, these type of platforms that are out there. You don't have to be using high end Photoshop and that kind of stuff. But even that, some people have a hard learning curve on it. And it's very easy to get somebody that can, for a one-off job, to create you a couple different overlays for a video, or to create a couple, hey, every month I'm writing X number of blogs and I need X number of images, and here's the topics, and here's, the points, and make it look nice, right? Pretty it up, make it have that graphic feel to it. So I think those are two other areas that easy to put in place to advance the business, right? I know we can go a whole lot deeper into this, get a lot more granular and specific. But if you just had somebody that can do some of the basic editing for video or photo creation, now you're opening up more octopus arms in a sense. Marketing Max just got a little crazy. Max Traffic is our octopus's name, our marketing octopus. But Max Traffic just grew a few arms because I went and found a freelancer to edit up a video. And now I can tap into YouTube and leverage the video side of things for my SEO to it. So just two others that I thought of.
Yeah, no. I think those are good. I'm glad you brought up Max Traffic because we got to put them out there, man. If you have no idea what we're talking about, go watch the last episode. We talk a little bit about the marketing and the octopus, and now we have pretty much our own octopus, called Max Traffic. But no, I think it's great points, right? So some great points there, things to kind of look out for, and just kind of be aware. Also, one of the things I didn't want to be left out before we kind of keep moving through this process is a VA doesn't always have to represent someone overseas either, right? So it's like we talked about, that was one of the first things. It could be someone in your community, right? Us, TRC, we have people within our community that are VAs and help us out and do things like that. And so I just want to kind of point that out as well. It's like, don't narrow kind of down that, oh man, VAs, they have to be overseas. No, they can be where you're at. So it's just kind of seeing where the talent is at.
So don't be angry, Max Traffic. If you guys are watching live, or if you're watching this on YouTube, if you guys are listening to this on podcast players later, you're gonna have to jump over to the YouTube version of this to see. But this is angry Max Traffic. Angry Max Traffic is mad because he's trying to do everything and he's got no help. He's got no VAs on his team. He's got no freelancers working with him. However, you can make Max Traffic be a little more happy by listening to what Roger and I are talking about here and going and finding a good one. So I had it up. I had to bring it in.
You had to do that. His debut right there. Love it.
So, all right. So as we kind of shift gears here, obviously there is a ton of places that they can go, but before somebody goes and starts looking for the right freelancer, the right VA, 2, 3, 4 tips that you got in your mind. What do you got right now off the top of your head that through experience, you've now realized if you do these right, you get a good one. If you do these wrong, it's that, that kind of that cycle of you thought it was good, but it didn't work out.
Yeah. So I'm going to, number one is going to be training. Before you even start looking, identify what the task is going to be and create a training around it. That's going to be number one. If you don't have the training ready, you can't yourself pretty much put yourself through that training and be confident that it makes sense. Don't hire a VA just yet. You have to be very, very specific, right? Because that training is also going to give you a job description, right? So once you go through it, you might think you know what you need, but once you kind of start identifying it at a more granular level, then you'll probably notice that, oh, there's a couple more things I need to ask or need from this person, right? The other thing is, it's going to be.
Are you saying even if I go through a quote unquote company that claims they've trained the person, I should still have some training?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 1,000%. I've done it. I've been there. It's like
1,000 for 1,000.
1,000% for that one.
He's batting 1,000 on this episode because I just tee him up with the perfect question to get the right answer. But no, I couldn't agree more. I just had to throw that in because I hear that one all the time. I get that. That makes sense. But they said they trained him. They might have trained him to the basic tasks, but they didn't train him to you, your business, and your process. Can't emphasize that one enough. So not to cut you off, but I had to.
No, absolutely. Well, one of the things you have to ask is like, have you ever cheated on a test? Right? It's like, well, the VAs can cheat on the test that they're going through just to get on that platform, get some more leads for their VA business or whatnot. I can tell you from experience, I've gone through rounds and rounds of VAs that say that they knew certain skills, they know certain skills that can help. So that's been one that you're going to have to go through. So have a training so that way you can kind of send them through. Now, the other thing is, say you have a task. You probably want to bring in 1 or 2 Sometimes if you have the budget 3, right, and you give them a mock training, an example, or I'm sorry, not a task, an example task. So don't go out and give them, like, for example, I'm just going to use us as an example. We're not going to hire, a VA. If we're looking for one VA, I'm probably going to hire 2 or 3, and I'm going to be very honest with them. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to have you build this website. It's not a client website, but it is example, something that's like a pretty standard website that we build for clients. Go, right? And I'll have these 2 or 3 people build it. I pay them. It's worth my time to pay them, invest in trying to find the best person out of those 3, right? So, because I vetted them out, right? I chose my top 2 or 3. I hired them. I had all of them do the same task. And then depending on what happens, then I make my decision. Now, you're going to notice a lot of things throughout. You might actually end up hiring the one that is not necessarily the best developer in my case, right? Not necessarily the best web. It might even be the most reliable one. You're right there. I think I can train you a little more, but you just were on point. You were online all the time. You were communicating with me. I love it, right? That's one of the things that I look at as well. Can you communicate? And if you can, that's huge. If your skill set is a little behind than what I expected, that's fine. Sometimes you get these very, very good people that have that skill set you need, but they don't communicate. So how's that going to help you, right? Because you can't move the needle forward if you can't get a hold of them, especially if they're a VA. Remember, they're not in your office. So to Sean's point, you can't walk up to their desk and check up on them. You have to wait online and see when they're available. And even if they got the task done, you're sitting over here pulling your hair out. So that's not good for a business running multiple VAs or even one VA, and you can't get a response, because that's going to give you a potential bad reputation with your clients as well, because you got to deliver a product or service.
That right there, I think, has been the secret weapon to how you've been able to build out that side of our business over the last 12, 13, 14 months. I will be honest, everybody. The first time Roger came to me and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about bringing like 3 or 4 of these people in to do this, this, and this," and then he immediately was like, "But let me explain why. Like, let me tell you why." And the first time I was a little skeptical, like, is it really worth spending the money to do that, to then cut a couple if they don't work? But it turned out to be literally, I mean, the secret weapon that's allowed Roger and that side of the team. And then we took that and we moved it even over to the front side of the team with our content side and our marketing side. And we've had a number of people at different times and kept the ones that worked really well or fit the model, right? Fit the environment, fit the personalities that we needed in there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That right there. And taking it back to when I first started kind of creating kind of a hiring process for VAs. I'm talking before, our partnership, right? It's like going through things I've done in the past and just failed and I couldn't figure it out. So that's just kind of a quick tip there that people can try out if they do have it in their budget. If you don't, then have a good training. You can still do this and move fast. So what do they say? Be quick to hire and fire, right? So if you automatically do not feel it in the first week, right? In the first week, you do not feel the vibe with that particular VA, you have to get rid of them because you need to move on. A big mistake I did early on as well is hold on to people that I already knew were not going to work out. Because I kept thinking, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Unfortunately, when you are in an office, it's probably a little easier because you can mentor them, right? You can mentor them. You can kind of take them through a process probably, and then start looking at it months ahead or months after. If there's improvement. In the VA world, that's hard to do. They're not in your office. You don't see them. So if they're not jumping online and you're like, it's going to get better, it's probably not going to get better. So I would be quick to hire, and I would be quick to fire as well, and move on with your next person.
Absolutely. I'd fire faster than I would hire, to be honest. And think about that for a second, because a lot of people are really quick to hire somebody because they just want to get it off their plate, get it out of their hands. They're like, I need a VA. I got to get a VA. Well, you need to be just as fast, if not faster, to be firing that one when
you know what? I think I got that saying wrong. I think you are right. Be slow to hire, quick to fire. Sorry about that. That's
I
excellent.
guess
I'm going to
you're right.
correct
I was
myself here on
going.
the air.
I was going with people are really
Yeah,
fast to
because
hire when they want something, right? When they're tired of it,
yeah,
they're fast to hire, but then they're slow to fire because it's
yeah,
I get it. Cut your loss, right? And that's where that point that you just brought up when you're bringing multiple of them on at a time. It took me a second to see the value in the cost of doing it that way, knowing that we're probably going to cut some of them along the track, but in the end, it paid off, right? A much better outcome came from it because we were able to cut the ones that didn't work right away and nail it down. And sometimes it was all of them, and we had to go back to the drawing board. But we're out a little bit of money. We're not out a bunch of time and a headache by doing it that way. So, anything else you got on this
oh
topic?
yeah. Yeah, just to kind of finish it off with a little more kind of repercussions of having the wrong VA in place, right? And thinking, hey, I'm going to spend a little bit of money, but I already invested in this person. I don't want to fire them right away. If I already know they're not, I'm going to try to make it work. Is because you might think that that investment for that VA is the money that you're losing, but it's not. It's your brand, it's your customer relationship that they might be dealing with. So in reality, the loss is a lot more if you hang on to somebody that's not a good fit. So you got to identify that right away.
100%. Any other tips before we shift it? You
No,
kind
I
of
think we should. We're yeah, we we nailed that one. I think pretty good.
so where can obviously, I mean, there is a ton of sites out there. Everybody knows kind of the big kind of behemoths, Fiverr, Upwork. Those are the two that always come to the top of the charts. But I know you got some pretty sneaky ones up your sleeve. Some things that you've found and used depending on what you're trying to hire for. So, what are some of the not so conventional or not so well known, maybe mainstream, we'll call it, places that somebody can look to hire a freelancer to help them out?
Absolutely. So it's one, right? I'm just going to leave it under one category because there's multiple places you can do this on. So it's basically in groups, and I'm going to be very specific with Facebook groups, right? For us, we're in the digital world. For me in specific, what I deal with Sean and I's business on Top Results, I deal with kind of make sure we have a good, strong foundational development team. So I'm a part of a lot of website development groups and different types of plugins and themes. There's groups for everything, right? And then I try to become a contributor. And I encourage even my team, right, to become contributors to these groups. So when we're in there, we're also watching for talent, though. When we're in those groups, not only are we putting out information for value so people can see that we're contributing to the community, but when I see someone that is very active, right, very active in those, and they're giving a lot of good responses and giving a lot of gold bars, right, kind of like what we do here on the podcast, I write down their name. I look them up. I look at their profile on social media. I start checking them out, see if they have their own agency or they're a freelancer, and I start really digging. And I have a list. That way, when the need comes, when the need comes to hire someone new, I'm not starting from scratch, and I'm not going to blindly to one of these platforms like Upwork or Fiverr to hire somebody. I'm actually going directly to an expert that I've been watching for a while. So I already vetted them out without them even knowing, and it's based on the information that providing. So the way I look at it is, if my client would have asked that question, how is this person going to answer it? And I get to see it without even testing them, right? This is just natural. So that's the one I want to put out there, because there are a lot of platforms. I mean, you can do it on other social media platforms, but for us, Facebook has been big for us. And it's not just one group, it's multiple groups, and we're watching for talent.
Yeah, when we upload this later, in the show notes, we'll put in a handful of the more common ones out there, so you guys can always go and check out the replay of this or check it out on the podcast players. And in the show notes, you'll be able to find also over on our website, topresultsconsulting.com. Under the podcast section, you'll be able to find this episode by the first part of next week. And we'll have a list of a handful, because at the end of the day, I mean, there's obviously the big boys, Fiverr, Upwork, But then there's others that, and even this list that I even have in front of me right now, there's a handful that I never thought of would be a way of getting kind of the freelance side. But I know that trick right there, and Roger just talked about, folks, has been something that has worked really well. A number of times he's come and said, "Hey, I've got so and so," or "I want you to meet so and so. I'm thinking about bringing them into the fold, into the team." And when I ask the question, like, "Where'd you meet them? Where'd you find them at?" Whatever the case, a lot of that time it's, "Oh, I got to know him through a group and through conversation and seeing what he was doing and where that went, and really enjoyed, his expertise on things." And those are the ones that seem to work out the best, because it wasn't just a profile of them, quote unquote, claiming that they do these things. You've actually seen it, a lot of times, even firsthand, or just heard the way that they, are doing something that you can tune in and say, yeah, that's going to be a good fit for us. So, anything you want to wrap us up with and close us out on?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw in two more places that I left out, and I left them out because they're not platforms, right? They're not platforms. They're more organic. That maybe some people might think it doesn't fit in this conversation, but I actually feel, I think you would agree with me. It probably does feel, but there's two other topics. It's interns and recommendations from whether it be outside or internal, right? So we know, because we've done it all when it comes to hiring, right? And all of these that we're talking about, we've done, and we've fallen, and we've actually gotten some good stuff, some good employees, team members, VAs out of all this. So interns, I'll kind of hit on interns number one. What does that even mean? How has TRC kind of leveraged that, and how has it worked? Well, number one, we've gone to our own community, right? To our own friends, family, just to find out what's out there. And from there, we've been able to get some recommendations. Now, did we kind of bring them in and automatically, all right, let's kind of start paying this person who's doing it? No, because a lot of these people that are coming in are people that want to learn. You'd be surprised how many people want to learn. That skill that you think you have and you might not put a value to it is very valuable to some people. And for us, there's a lot of people that want to learn digital marketing, web development, SEO. So there's a lot of people out there that want to come in and just intern at free cost, right? Instead of paying, some kind of certificate or university, they come into TRC and we take them through a training program, and we kind of groom them in a way in our processes. So that's what we've done with the intern portion of our business. So that's worked out very well. And there has to be an endpoint too, where you have them, you train them, you get them good, you get them exactly doing what you need them to do, and then you get them on board on a paid scale, right? That's the easiest way to bring on someone that really works, gets you a lot of value, and then you can go ahead and start paying them when they get to that point where they're good enough, right, to be there. They prove themselves. Number two is we've actually had situations where we love our team. We've grown our team over this past year, and it's been awesome. So when we've needed new team members, we no longer first go to our community. We actually go to our team members. Before I start looking at all these platforms, kind of looking at my list that I built and everything, I go internal and I ask the question, hey guys, we're ready for a new team member. Boom. Do you guys have any recommendations? And it's been interesting. It's been really cool to get recommendations from our internal team and bring them in. A lot of them have been interns, but it's people that are coming with fire, right? Come with a lot of energy and ready to go because they've seen what their friends are doing, and they're excited about what our company is doing, and they want to be involved, right? So they're coming in with a lot of energy. So it's been really cool to do that. So that's the two extra ones I want to throw in there. So it's interns, and then just the regular recommendations. Ask the question: is there anybody out there that wants to do something of what we're doing?
So one of our viewers joining live asked, when do you eventually pay the intern? And I'm glad that you asked. Unfortunately, it doesn't have your name, so I can't speak directly to you with a name, but that's a great question on when do we do it. And it might have to turn into a whole other episode on just this concept and topic of internship, because I've used interns a number of different times throughout it. And to give you the down and dirty skinny before we wrap up here today, internships vary depending on how and where you're getting the intern. We have some interns that are through personal relationships, meaning it's not necessarily a formal internship through a school that they're getting the credit for the internship. It's they're interning with us on their own because they want the experience. They're excited about doing it. They love the environment and they are seeing it as something they can put to that resume to take them somewhere else. Right now, I've also done internships and used interns where it's very formal. You've got to go through the school, you've got to go through their process, you've got to kind of follow their step-by-step procedure that they want the students to kind of go through to apply for that internship, interview them, select them, submit paperwork. Sometimes that was mandated that we had to pay. Other times it wasn't. One time there was state credits out there for the business. If you're paying the intern, we actually got credit, but we got that money back through the state. So yeah, it was a cash outlay for the intern, but there was a benefit perk coming back the other side. So everybody won in that case. The intern made money and we didn't really lose money because we got that money back. So down and dirty skinny, if you're looking at the intern side of the equation of things, start with the local schools and colleges that you have around you. See if they have internship programs and just start asking the questions. What is the process? What do you guys require? What do you mandate? The other side of it, the easy one, is it really comes from friends, family, team members that say, hey, I've got a friend that would love to do some stuff with us here for the experience, maybe not be paid right away. Now the loaded question that you asked of when do you start paying? That's again, it's a deeper piece. Got to start looking at the business. Where are you at financially? Are you ready to pay? Are they doing enough right in the business to be a full employee, or full kind of freelance position, or are they just, the typical kind of intern where they're sporadically helping in areas for an experience level. So probably about the shortest way without going into a whole nother episode right there that I can keep it. But I love the thought that the person is having. Anything you'd add to that, Roger?
No, I think you nailed it there. It depends on the business. I agree. It depends on your situation with the business, where you're at financially, things like that. And keep in mind too, in regards to an intern, you're providing a lot of value, right? They're coming because they want to learn, they want to kind of see what's going on, and there's a lot of effort that comes out from your end as well. So that's as you bring someone through a journey of an internship. It depends on the business. It depends on when you feel they've hit that mark where they start adding value.
Or when they're about to leave because they feel like it's over, they can't really get any farther, they want to go take on something else, and you don't want to lose them. Now it's time to pay them. That'd be another way to kind of say, like, we might entice somebody to stay by paying them on it. Now, every one of our interns that are watching this are going to come running to us and say, okay, I'm leaving. No, I'm kidding. We love our interns. We love taking care of them. And, really helping them grow in business for it. So again, as always, we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours. If we wanted to make this show like a 2, 3, 4 hour show, we could fill it quickly with value. But any final thoughts, anything you want to sign off with before we tell them till next week when you'll be here in the States?
Absolutely. No, I'm just, I think today's was very important. Great way to grow your business. So hopefully they take our listeners take this information and run with it, right? It's like, don't be scared. VAs are great. You just have to have that process. But other than that, I'm excited to be in the corporate office back in with you, Sean, next week. So yeah, tune in. It's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. And as we say every single week, don't just listen to the info. Don't just say, that was really good. Go out there, take action, put it to the test. In this case, get a good plan together, really understand who you're trying to look for, what are the roles that you want them to fill. Take Roger's example and maybe test it out, run with it. Go find 1, 2, 3 at a time. Try them out, see how it works, and land on the one that you want. At the end of the day, there really is no right or wrong way to do this. The only thing that's wrong is not doing it at all. So till next week, till we bring another bag of gold bars to drop on top of you guys, enjoy your week. Have a good one. And as always, here's to your success.